I'm entitling this game How to Get Back Up to Class A. Look, I was at 1795 and I'm up at 1804 now. So let's... Don't look for the next couple of seconds. You're going to see the end.
Promotion to Queen.
Yes. Promotion to Queen was what precipitated the resignation of my opponent, but I'll show you how it happened because it's a very interesting game. So we've got this very strange opening, and so I went for an ordinary opening to counter it, and then this bishop attack, which is actually... I probably should have used a pawn to defend against this because I used the knight, and of course it looks like this is some sort of prepared line he's got here because that pawn, the whole purpose of moving that pawn 2 moves was in order that he can then do this. And then I move the knight there, and he can do that, and even if I take the pawn, the knight, which I could have done, this is a bit annoying for me, but perhaps I should have done that, I don't know. I did that, and I let the pawn go, deciding I'm going to let him just have a bad structure instead. I'm going to try and structure. If he's going to go for this clever attack lines, then it looks to me like what he's going to sacrifice is his decent structure. But of course, what I didn't really see coming, in fact, when I got this bishop out, he should have done this. I didn't see that, but he didn't see it either, so perhaps he doesn't know his line very well. So I've got these 2 knights defended by 2 pawns, which again is pretty bad because it's a very weak king side, and his queen's got an open line to my king potentially there after all of that lot gets exchanged off. So, but instead he does this, because he can't move his queen out just yet because of a knight. Yeah, and I suppose even if he did that, I can take the queen for me. He can't really bring the queen out then, so he brings out this pawn here, and I suppose what he's probably trying to do is open up a different line for his queen on the queen's side diagonal, but he's boxed in that knight. Don't know quite what he's doing. So it's time for me to start chasing away this premature attack. Bang, bang. He's doing a really wonderful job of coordinating with the pawn there, and then here again, and this is a bit of an offer of an exchange in a way. He turns it down, and now again here another sort of an offer of an exchange almost, which he gives this time here with this pawn. So he's sort of saying, okay, you can take my bishop, but I'll take yours, then we'll see who's best. Well, I thought that was actually okay, because if I do that, then he can't recapture the pawn. He's got to recapture the bishop, and then I've got an attack here, and my knights are looking after each other. But on my king, he's got a check line on my king. He could have recaptured that pawn quite easily, like that. I don't know why he didn't.
Check.
So instead, he decides he wants more than that. He wants to get his bishop. I'm not sure what he was thinking here. He's a Class A player, by the way. So I block the bishop there, and now I've got a potential checking square with my C-file knight. Now his queen comes to here. Again, she's just like not doing the check, which I...
Kinside castling.
Okay for that, mate. Thanks for letting me castle. And now he does it. Very odd. So I give the check here just to get rid of that bishop before it gets involved with the queen in some sort of lasering of my king. And I've got a passed pawn now. That's potentially dangerous for him. Down comes the knight. So he's looking for a knight-queen combination checkmate now. So we've got to scare the queen a bit. She comes to this central square here, very good central square, and she's attacking one of my pawns. So I've got to attack her and defend the pawn at the same time, and she hightails it up to here. Did contemplate taking the knight with the rook at some point, but I don't think it would have been a good idea here. You know, his queen and rook. I don't want to open any files towards my king. So down here, and I'm attacking that pawn, as you can see. I don't know if he's seen that I'm attacking that pawn, because with the queen coming in line with his king, it looks like an attack on his king. He may not have seen the pawn, but he has. But however, if I take that, now I can get the pawn. And now I'm defending my passed pawn, and this has turned out really well for me. I think at this point I had gained the upper hand very significantly. Of course, he still has a few little tricks, a few little things, but he's got to castle first. obviously, yeah, if he didn't do that, if he had done something like that, not that he would have done it at this stage, but I would be looking at this, forcing him to castle maybe. I don't know if I want to force him to castle. I'd rather keep the tempo going. So he comes to here anyway. This is what he does for now. And now this is nice because I can pin that knight. So if he moves the rook that's in front of my queen, I'll gain the pawn. If he castles, I'll win the knight immediately. So his only real option is to sort of do this and lose the pawn, and then castle. Or perhaps something like this, and then this. That might just about work. Then he can castle. Anyway, he didn't think of that structure, clearly. Comes over here with the queen, and he's obviously looking to give a check down on the square next to this bishop here. Quite a nasty check that would be, because it would trap my rook, really. It would pin the bishop against the rook. So I've got to get that bishop out of the way. Can't get it to a square where it's protected. I don't think that's a problem yet, because he can come here, and then I can protect it like this. Got to be careful not to get my queen and bishop tied in knots that might cost me one or other of those pieces, especially if he doubles his rooks
Check.
at some point. So he checks here, and now I can just move my king here.
Check.
Not a good idea to move it here, because then he could have got me into some sort of... I was going to say he could have got me into some sort of perpetual check, but I can't see it now. No, he can't. Anyway,
Check.
I moved
Check.
that way. I felt I had more options. Well, the thing is, he can attack this rook, but the thing is, now my king is defending that rook, and I know the bishop was already, but I had this idea that I might advance a pawn to bolster that bishop, which would have blocked that line. So here we are, attacking his queen. Now his
Check.
queen is going to have to either run. Well, I think she's embarrassed, actually. Yeah, she's completely embarrassed now. This wins the queen.
Check.
So but he's going to get an extra. So look, the material's actually even technically, because the queen's worth 9 points, the minor pieces are worth 3-ish, and the rooks are worth 6. So he's got 12, 13, 14, 15, 9, 10, 11. I've actually got less points of material technically than he has, although I have the passed pawn, and that's worth quite a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns, 1 passed pawn. He's only got 5 pawns and no passed pawn. So his pawn structure is minusculely better than mine,
Kinside castling.
but not when we look at the passed pawn. Now he castles, and I didn't realise
Kinside
he'd
castling.
actually given me the knight here. He didn't, and I didn't, so I didn't take the knight because I didn't realise he'd given me it. Now he probably realises that he was about to give me it, so out it comes. And now this down to here, partly a blockade move, partly a way of winning that pawn potentially, but I wouldn't want to try and win it, because then I'm sort of pinning the queen against the bishop, and then he can chase it all over the place with the rooks. So it comes here with the knight. And what I mean by that is, if I was to do that, say, and then he could do something like this. I can't take that rook because he'll take the queen. And it's just, I can't defend the bishop here. I kind of end up losing the bishop, so that's what I meant by that. So I couldn't really get that pawn. I couldn't really take that. I couldn't afford to take it. But I had better things planned. So okay, he's going for the bishop. That's fine. Don't mind him taking that bishop. I'm just going to get my king more central and get my king more safe before he comes out with his rooks and things. So just creating holes for the king here and locking up this bishop. It's a little bit dodgy. My king's in danger of losing, running out of squares to run to here. Could end up getting forced in line with my queen. So he's got to try and get well away, and I've got to move these pawns forward. I'm not actually trying to get queens here. I'm just trying to move the pawns forward to make holes for the king. Now to here, again, slightly dangerous move, but if he tries to threaten me with the rooks, he will lose the knight, because he's moved the knight back on. So the knight has to kind of run somewhere, and he's only got one place to run, which is by taking the bishop. And that gives me another passed pawn. And this is where I realised that I had the game, because 2 passed pawns and a queen against 2 rooks. He's coming with his king, trying to do something, but you see what happens now. I can ignore all of that because I can now sacrifice the queen. And it's a long time since I've done a queen sacrifice. So here it comes. Bang.
Check.
And he checks me first. Then takes the queen. Now that looks like, oh my god. Oh no, he's got a rook and I've only got pawns. But actually,
Promotion to queen.
1 queens, he takes
Promotion to
1
queen.
queens and an instant resignation. So there we are, 2 pawns on the 7th rank are completely unassailable. Don't think I've ever been in that situation before, but there it is.